You know, I don't really know what to talk about when it comes down to it, truthfully. Um, just woke up. My immediate thoughts, in all honesty, were regarding what I was talking about yesterday. So yeah, I'm a bit obsessed with everything that's going down with the hallucinogenics right now, and how I should take them, and what I should be listening to, and where I should be, and all that sort of thing. I don't know. And I got to thinking eventually as I sat down here about my time into the ER and how much of a fool I made of myself. And in all honesty, they've been recurring memories. Like, I've kind of let go of a lot of my past memories that make me feel like my much further in the past memories. Uh, when it came down to like how I felt embarrassed and everything with this family. Um, I don't know if I just walled it off, in all honesty, when it came down to that. I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to let my oppressors and abusers hurt me anymore, you know? Because right now, I know that doesn't sound right, but that's kind of where I feel I am with them. And, I'm trying to rebuild a relationship, and it certainly seems like my mom wants to rebuild a relationship as well. But she says she's scared of me. She says she doesn't want to hang out with me, and she says, like, anything I suggest basically is wrong. And from experience, that's my experience. As you know, I suggest things oftentimes and almost always involve getting out of the house. All she wants to do is stay in the house if it doesn't get involve getting out of the house. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't matter if I suggest anything. The point is she's so scared of me that she doesn't want to do or have to do anything with me for long periods of time. So, yeah. Which unfortunately, that's how it is because I did my own things. I was also an abuser earlier in my life. As I was growing up, I was the one. I honestly, I should have been getting help. It turns out I most likely, can't tell for sure because we aren't me from back then and all that. Most likely, with the symptoms exhibited and the memories and the stuff I was feeling at that time when I talked to my therapist about it, it was probably PTSD resulting from most likely a sexual molestation trauma. Uh, but um, yeah, that doesn't really excuse any of my behavior at all. I can't change my behavior in the past, just as I can't have my parents change their behavior towards me or get me help or any of that. Nobody knew what was going on. It was a hellhole. It was shit. It sucked. Still isn't the best. And ultimately, I've locked down over 20 years of bad habits and negative emotions and negative thought patterns, and I'm trying to undo that in an environment that's basically a trigger. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just scary. It's definitely scary. Uh, I want to push through and get better. It might just be that I'll have to turn my attention to just escaping. Um, any way, shape, or form. I got rid of those opportunities because I figured this would be a better way of doing it. Instead of avoiding it, attacking it head on. Forcing myself to go through and genuinely feel again. Start seeing things from other people's perspectives. Get rid of some of that deep-seated anger and resentment and learn to let go. Try and learn to figure out what my triggers are and accept them and try and grow from them and maybe no longer be or even work with them so they're no longer interfering with my life. And I kept thinking about, oh yeah, all this shit that like I was screaming throughout that 2017 year. Just ranting and raving about how this person and that, just thinking I'm a big tough guy. And then, yeah, an ego boost, wrong type. Finally got something, and then you just had to go off in the wrong direction. That's pretty common. Luckily, you didn't do it. You know, for reality. If you'd done it for reality, I think it might have stuck into your personality. As it is, it's still there. Anything you do for a year is going to be sticking around for a while. But, yeah. For the most part, it's not nearly as bad, and it's mostly just positive stuff. When it comes down to, like, my anxiety and depression and things like that, and I consider it positive now. So you were saying you're feeling kind of. Definitely do feel just. I don't know. Sometimes it's just, I don't know, something that kind of feels like it's never going to get changed. I'd be stuck. I just need to get over this, like, mental block that I need to do this, that I need to do that, that this is. I want to just start getting things done. I don't care the quality, I don't care what, I just figure it out, start getting it done. Mom made a great point last night. Why don't you just go to South Mountain, do it then, and get shit done? I mean, why does it have to be that? Personally, I was kind of going off the idea that it might be a good idea to, um, travel and try and associate doing this activity in a meaningful way. And if I make it a specific thing that I do, like once a week or whatever, or once a month, it doesn't matter, but just it's a thing that I plan and achieve and accomplish and make good memories with, you know. I would prefer it to be if I'm going to put all that effort into it, something that isn't just my neighborhood. You know, just, I don't know. I don't know. I got heated and said shit I really didn't fucking mean. Lost my cool. Really should have been able to argue a little better. But really, it's not argue, it's just trying to make myself understood. Maybe I could have phrased something better. Like, because when I'll say something and I feel like I'm saying it the right way, I'll go through multiple times of making sure I say these exact words over and over and over again, because she'll twist it into what she thinks it is until she writes it down as I, like, it's super annoying. It's super annoying. Like, that's how immediate the misrepresentation is, the misinterpretation is. It's not even due to her hearing, it's due to her perception of how I'm going to say something. It immediately changes the result. So, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. If it was up to me, that would definitely not be the case. I wouldn't be letting that happen. And I tried my best to basically do exactly that. Make sure I was heard the right way. But goddamn, does it get frustrating when it seems like every other fucking time all she does is have the wrong thing, or seems to think the wrong thing. It's annoying as shit. I really wish I had recorded that. But I figured it'd been fine just to talk. And I never wanted to be journalistic, turning a conversation into something so much more serious. But I think I'm going to have to start recording my conversations so that way I can pick out examples just in case I need help with, like, why did I do this, or what did she say that made me so angry? How did this all start? Like, it'd be good information for me to have to be able to move forward with. It's gonna be an interesting few weeks. Yeah, back to I keep avoiding it, but like, I said I was raped really loudly, so I wanted them to hear, and then it was because I realized that I was definitely hurt or raped or something, another time, and then doctor talked to me, and then all that, and then it's just bad. Like, seeing their faces, they think it goes around, they think that it's a thing, and then it's nothing, and then no, I hate it. I hate it so much. When I think about it, I want to avoid it so badly. I don't want to believe I did these things, or said these actions, or thought this stuff, but for some reason, some of it I'm okay with more than I am with, and I suppose that's true because it's how I acted. For some reason, I'm alright with how I acted towards my parents, but when I think about how I acted towards just the strangers around me and the crazy things I said, I feel more embarrassed. I don't know. It's not great, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that, like, I realize that I definitely have bias with my parents, and it's there for just, it's deep. I mean, but here's the thing, any kids have specific biases, and any parents have specific biases towards their family members. It's just a thing. But I need to change mine and keep an open mind, because it will make me feel better about myself. I don't need to do it for them or anybody else, but for me. I want to feel better, and it'll make me feel better to keep a better open mind. And all it does is just add to the length of the conversation. That's all it does. And which can only be a good thing. If you've ever heard of anyone debating anything. It's usually a good idea to give everybody the most amount of time. In a perfect world, you'd have an infinite amount of time for a very quick reactionary plan. But that's not how that works. Time's ever flowing. You can't make it slow so significantly. At least not right now, sadly. Yeah, and then I felt like I treated the people around me in those mental health facilities as best I could. I was wary of certain ones, because truthfully they were genuinely scary, like really erratic, and not like I was going through my own shit, but I wasn't to that point. Like, sure, I was scary, but I had people in there that scared the shit out of me. It made me go, wow, this dude is fucking crazy. So yeah. And it's much easier outside looking in, truthfully, but yeah. And then the general lack of, like, beaten down. Some of them want to care. Some of them clearly are doing this just for a paycheck and do not care. Some of them do care, but know that nothing's going to change, and they're just trying to make the best of what they can. You know? And then the rampant, like, bullshit with certain individuals being there that were creeps, putting it mildly. Some of them straight up were touching inappropriately certain women, asking them questions and stuff during, like, showering and other things, and just in general treating it a little bit, I don't want to, yeah, it's not good. Not good. And they still work. They don't get reprimanded, they don't change the way they behave. Nobody cares what the mentally ill person says. You know? Food's 30 minutes. It's hot food sometimes. Sometimes it's mediocre at best. But when you're given the medication, any food is the best food. To anyone going, oh, well, why would you need good food? Let's put this in perspective. You could be paying more than $2,000 a night and be there for more than 2 weeks. That's your insurance paying most of that. So if you got your 10% to 15% deductible, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not an easy thing. This will going into one of these facilities immediately bankrupts you if you do not have the insurance to do it, or the means to pay it. And food depends very much on where you go, which facility you're at, beds, caretakers, all of it. None of it is any sort of standard. None of it is under any sort of standard directionary thing. They just have general things that a person can do. It's almost like a nursing home, except the people are actually able to get up and do some of the things that are there for them. And trust me, it's brutally boring. And all they want you to do is constantly talk about your triggers, which is fine, but when you're under, I don't know, I feel like it's just not the right way to go about the actual treatment. You know, I definitely think it could be done better in a better environment overall. And it should be the standard care treatment as set. Anyways, I digress. So, yeah, and I continued up having my delusions while I was there, and I kept going back because I was stuck believing them, basically. I would stabilize out long enough for them to think that it was okay, or basically I get my 2 weeks, but my delusions would not have changed or altered in any way. You know who had to do that? Me. I had people telling me all my delusions were fake, all my stuff, so I had to trust that the people around me were right to be able to break my delusions, right? So I had to start challenging my delusions and thought process to how I got these things myself. What prompted that? Honestly, I made myself a bet. As simple as that. If I'm still alive X amount of time later, then clearly they don't want to kill me, or it's not real, or whatever. It doesn't matter. And I thought for sure I'm gonna die. So this is a dumb bet. I already know I'm gonna die. My life is already gonna be dead. But yeah, I'll take the bet. And I'm here now. I do not have any of the delusions I once did. And I've come very far and wanted to start treatment for my PTSD that initially caused my paranoia, which then caused my delusions. Which were aggravated by the frequency and dosage of cannabis, and most likely my diet, lack of sleep, too much exercise. So too little sleep, too much exercise, too little food, and so many other things that were going on that just compounded and made that worse. Everybody wants to blame it specifically on one thing, but the fact is, cannabis stopped my delusions temporarily. That's not even a joke. Like, everybody's like, oh, they brought them. I'm not going to say that they... There's always a possibility. And I'm not going to say that there's not a possibility that they didn't increase delusions at times. Or make me want to believe them more, or whatever the case might be. But I'm not going to sit here and lie either and say that there are other things obviously there that happened and also contributed. Although people probably don't understand, but after reading up on my diet and mostly what I was eating and taking supplements and everything else, I kind of put myself into a basically, I was fucking around heavily with the glutamine and other stuff like that in my brain with my diet, exercise, and my supplements specifically. My supplements and diet combined together to kind of basically make me start to become nutrient deficient in certain things brain-wise that were aggravating those tendencies for paranoia and delusions and everything else. I only learned of that when like I said, after going through my supplements and diet and everything else, and wanted to know why the hell I was going through all these things, and I was like, well, instead of it just doing this, what else does it do? Like, there are other things that these supplements did besides just what I wanted to target them. I considered those side effects because it wasn't the main goal, right? So what were those side effects? Well, it turns out I started fucking around with the I had a glutamate agonist or something like that, and another, or no, basically I started reducing L-glutamine in my system. And then I had something that was constantly trying to fire something. Fuck, what the hell was it? So it was L-glutamine and most likely the interior, was it the amygdala? It controls all that, and the hypothalamus and hippocampus. Prefrontal cortex was mildly affected, mostly due to increased dopamine response from cannabis. I had a glutamine deficiency, so my brain, instead of slowing down, constantly getting sped up more and more and more and more and more and more, constantly getting re-sped up. Because cannabis, if you didn't know, actually fires multiple parts of the brain and actually makes it more active and speed up. It increases certain dopamine responses in the prefrontal cortex area of the brain as well. So I basically started giving myself the equivalent of methamphetamine. Yeah, basically. That's not even a joke. I'm betting that's how it started to read false positive. I was essentially making it with my body at that point. I put myself in an environment where it constantly re-trigger and re-trigger and re-trigger and re-trigger, and so now I have all these extra dopamine and everything else, so it was really not good. And that's when I started to fixate on things and have trouble being able to relax and fall asleep and ultimately, when I crashed, I had the severe irritability, depression, anxiety, and I had to go through standard treatment as a person going through methamphetamine withdrawal would probably go through. Um, which is antidepressants like bupropion to help with restructuring the dopamine receptors and norepinephrine receptors as a result. Change up the database going, this is impossible. This is a person that's taking Concerta and or a variation of an amphetamine from a very early age up until they were 18, 19-ish, I think. And as a result, grew up with increased, most likely grew up with an increased dopamine reuptake and receptors, or dopamine receptors. Meaning that when I express dopamine more, I am able to feel it more now. Most likely, I just didn't express very much dopamine, even though everything was going on. More than likely, as a result of the PTSD and the severe depression that comes along with it, and everything else that was going on in my life like I said, when I said I didn't feel happy or couldn't feel emotions growing up, that's basically it. And everybody wants it to be blamed on this one thing or this other thing, and fact is, a lot of mental health professionals don't really want to tell you this, but diagnoses in general have very, and I do mean very, similar side effects or behavioral patterns between them. Alright, it's actually extremely easy to misdiagnose because a person might be exhibiting these specific symptoms but not these other ones at that given time. And you can only diagnose what you see in front of you, not what's been going on or the context of how it's happening or anything else like that. So am I saying everything was that? No, what I'm saying is there's side effects, that there are definitely things that happened. Anyways, going back to it. So, yes, we basically tried to use, I feel, amphetamine salts as an antidepressant for a kid growing up who had attention problems and behavioral problems because of his PTSD. As he was growing up, because he had perfectly fine dopamine receptors that were fine in average, but because dopamine wasn't firing as often due to depression, a amphetamine salt was introduced and increased the receptors for the dopamine, and when dopamine was expressed, it did not go back as easily, right? Standard thing that it does, that's what it does. However, when you're dealing with depression and you're trying to treat the attention deficit problem of it, with those, more than likely over growing up time, meaning from age, I don't know, I think it was 7 or 8 when I first got introduced. And like I said, I stopped, I was 18 to 19 years of age. And now I don't have as much depression, and my body and mind are releasing those dopamine responses to things because I'm able to feel more relaxed and comfortable, and I've put a lot of work into trying to feel again and feel better again. Has an extreme response now to those overall experiences, and that can be negative or positive. And if you didn't know, the initial response to my paranoia and delusions, the medication that was given to me, was a standard antipsychotic, Zyprexa, or Zyprexa? Zyprexa. Something with a Z. Lanzapine or some shit like that. And, high doses of gabapentin, which is a glutamate. You're gonna reduce the glutamate, and you're gonna increase the amount of glutamate that you're getting in your system. You're gonna reduce the amount of. This is what antipsychotics do. They reduce the amount of dopamine in your system, in your brain specifically. The two things that my diet and my supplements were doing, that I had just gotten away from, they started giving to me to basically counteract that effect that I had given myself over more than a year at that point. So I had built up many connections regarding those neural pathways again. And then this just essentially counteracted that for a decent amount of time until I no longer needed it, started mostly getting side effects, and wanted to get off of them. So I've now, a year later, gotten off of my antidepressants outside of cannabis and my antipsychotics. I take sleep medication because I still have trouble with sleep. Go figure, right? Person with dopaminergic issues has a problem with I might try out like a low dose of gabapentin again. I have magnesium L-glutamate powder, which is good for increasing the glutamine response in your brain and reducing the overall speed at which it fires. It doesn't really cross the blood-brain barrier so much as far as I'm aware. Very little does, so I'm fine with that. I don't need like an increase, just something. And I'm not taking the same supplements I was, and I definitely am changing up how I do things in terms of like the way I treat myself. It's actually kind of worse. I need to start working out, eating right, and yeah. I say that, but it's always like the same thing with me in terms of I'm always waiting. Always waiting for the right moment. And you get nothing done doing that, and I hate it. But it's like my thing. It's just how it goes. And I need to break that habit first. There are so many negative things, and I'm really hoping that I'm able to change about myself. I don't know. I don't know. After a while, it all just kind of blends in, like, yeah, this changed my brain and this and that, and now I'm basically playing experiment mad scientist to figure out best how to fix the brain. My way. Or the right way. Anyways, it's not exactly easy. Let's put it this way. Um, put it this way. After an amount of time, I'm mostly just going to be trying to figure out how to um, go forward in the idea of, like, do I keep trying new medication? Do I keep trying new therapies? Do I just say this is as good as it gets? When do I say that? Because I understand that as time goes on, new treatments come out and new things happen. But that takes time. And before that happens, I will have gone through most likely anything that's out there. I don't want to keep doing new things. I understand hope is great and all that, but it's more disheartening than anything else. It destroys you. And it ostracizes everybody around you. Why won't you just leave it alone? Why do you keep trying? Anyways, I think I should be done with this recording.